Right. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Big Ideas in Cannabis. I'm Cassie Tomaselli, the founder of Tomaselli Media, a boutique content marketing agency based in the cannabis industry. And I'm so excited today to be joined by my friend and trailblazing cannabis professional, Hope Wiseman. Hope, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to speak with you. And, anything you're involved in, I'm happy to be a part of. So, yeah.
Amazing. And I can't wait for the audience to get to know you a little bit and how you've really trailblazed your way in this space. So first, I'd really love to just have the audience get a feel of your background. Can you tell us just all about Hope and how did you get into the cannabis industry?
Definitely. Okay. So my journey into cannabis really starts with my upbringing. My mother, who is a successful entrepreneur herself, she's a dentist by trade and also a real estate investor. She always challenged me to think critically and solve problems and look for opportunities to build a business and build wealth for our family. So she really trained me to be a businesswoman, even from a young age. So I actually began my career in investment banking after graduating from Spelman College with a degree in economics. And that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought that's where my career was going, but it wasn't necessarily something I was passionate about. So I was always looking for that new opportunity that my mother raised me to look for. And the cannabis industry started becoming more prevalent on the East Coast around 2014, the year that I graduated from college. So I'm sitting on the trading floor, looking at all the screens, just like if you don't know what working at an investment bank is like, yes, being in equities looks like the Wolf of Wall Street to an extent. And I'm sitting on a trading floor and I'm looking up at the TVs and they're talking about cannabis and the growth that this industry is expected to have. I immediately, and I guess it's because my brain was still thinking in economics and how markets moved. I saw the opportunity with this industry and that it was still at the ground floor level and I would have a unique opportunity to enter the space at that time. So I went to my mother, one of the smartest entrepreneurs I knew at the time, and we formed this small group that ended up, we did our research around what states were legalizing at the time. And we realized that Maryland, my home state and where my mother still lived, had just passed their medical bill. And we read that bill. It laid out exactly when, how many, who would be regulating the new licensing process that would be happening the very next year in 2015. So we got together a small group of people that I know, love, and trust, and also had the skill sets necessary to apply for a license. And, spoiler alert, we ended up winning. So that's kind of my intro into the cannabis industry.
And not only, Hope, did you end up winning, but you became the youngest female Black dispensary owner in the nation.
Yes. It's not something I was thinking about or even realized was happening. So I'm very proud of that title. However, it definitely wasn't something I was even working towards. So it can feel heavy to carry, but I am also still proud to represent that. And I believe that I have helped inspire a new wave of Black entrepreneurs pursuing this space.
That's incredible. And I can't wait to hear more about that in a moment. We will segue into it certainly. But first, I'd love to kind of talk about the emerging adult use market in Maryland. Obviously, there's been an enormous opportunity for Marion, Maine, and your broader company, Wiseco. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that as well. But first, can you just kind of talk about how has the rollout been? I mean, it's been one of the fastest growing markets in the nation.
Definitely. And I'm so happy that you are recognizing that. I like to say that, Maryland is very underrated. I like to call us a silent killer. A lot of people don't talk about us as, one of the most, what's the right word? I'd say they don't recognize us as one of the healthier markets, but in reality, we are. Not only are we growing fast, I believe that our revenues are some of the healthiest in the nation right now. In the first year, we did over $1 billion in sales, and we have continuously been month over month growing the industry, and there are no signs that it's slowing down currently. We are adding new licenses with a social equity program, but the rollout is very smooth, and it's not something that's going to saturate our market immediately. So the shift to adult use for us as a company, we anticipated it. We were able to look at states like Illinois, which has a very similar program, or attempted to get together a similar program as us. They had a fast rollout for their adult use program. So we were able to kind of see what the effects would for a state with a highly regulated industry to go from medical to adult use and what that rollout looks like. And I believe that we were very prepared for the increase. You know, we were prepared for 2 to 3 times the business we were seeing the night before. It was definitely difficult. One example of a challenge that we faced, first day of adult use sales, July 1st, 2023. It's a Saturday, okay? And then July 4th is coming up. So pretty much everyone's celebrating July 4th weekend. So not only is it the first day of adult use sales, it's a holiday weekend for us. It would have been a weekend anyway. Yeah. And overnight, you know, I'm telling my staff, I'm like, look, it's all hands on deck tomorrow. We've never had this level of volume. Yes, we've had 420 days that seem busy and all of that, but this is going to be our new normal every day. And today in particular, this Saturday is going to be crazy. And it was. My team had to learn how to deal with long lines, how to deal with customers that still are uneducated and have a lot of questions, but still give, you know, a timely service, because you got 100 people in line waiting for you. So it's interesting now, the same level of people that we did on July 1st, we do on a Wednesday, you know, and it's no problem. We have a very, very controlled amount of staff, but that came from optimizing our systems and our processes as we grew. And I believe that that's probably my favorite thing about us as a company. We adjust really fast. We are very lean, but we continue to adjust with our business. And as it grows, we change. And that's exactly what we did from the shift from medical to adult use.
Oh, yeah, certainly. And I definitely want to hear more about those systems here in a moment. But first, I wanted to also touch on, it sounds like the governor is also very supportive of the adult use program in Maryland, Governor Westmore. And I know that you've had plenty of interactions with him as well. What have those kinds of conversations been like, specifically around growing adult use businesses and the social equity program in the state?
Definitely. The governor's office has been extremely supportive of the cannabis program in Maryland, of the social equity program in Maryland, and making sure that the resources and tools that businesses actually need to thrive are there for them, specifically funding. So the governor's office has pledged money towards the Business Assistance Fund that has been able to help minority-owned businesses get up and running. So that has already happened. There's more money allocated, and the governor has shown a lot of support towards making sure that this continues. The governor has also made sure that the Office of Social Equity in Maryland, which is a separate office than the Maryland Cannabis Administration, which governs the actual program. It's a separate office that has its own funding that is strictly focused on making sure social equity licensees have everything that they need to succeed. So the governor has made sure that that office has the funding that it needs and the support that it needs. On top of that, so there have been a lot of talks, because Maryland is, you know, our tax dollars are needed right now. We are in a deficit, and the governor just put out his new budget, and everybody was kind of looking like, all right, where is the money getting cut from? And, you know, what are we going to do? And one thing that he's doing is pretty much 2/3 of Marylanders are going to get a tax break next year, but then 1/3 is going up. And that's for Marylanders that combined are, if they're married, are making over $500,000. a year. They're going to see a tax increase personally. However, there are a lot of corporate tax breaks that are going to be introduced to business owners, as well as there are supposed to be a lot of initiatives to help businesses thrive in the state. That's the governor saying wealth, wages, work. So I believe that the governor's office has shown a lot of support, and he has included me in conversations. In fact, I was a part of a prep call before the budget was introduced so that I could ask questions about the budget and be able to communicate truthfully about what the governor is doing. So I'm super, super happy to be involved in those conversations because I get to hear it from the horse's mouth, as well as make sure our voices are heard and we're understood. So the governor's office is super supportive. And, I think that his latest budget layout shows that. And I'm going to continue to push on them for funding because that's really what social equity businesses need at this point. We have a lot of resources. There are a lot of people like myself that share a lot of information and that are there for consultation. What we need is funding in order to get these businesses up and running.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. One other thing that I wanted to learn a little bit more about from the Maryland cannabis market is just really how you see the landscape shifting now that we're a little over a year into this market. Can you just kind of share, what do you think it's going to look like in terms of the business landscape and also maybe like products and consumers that you all are attracting into the market?
Totally. So I'll start from the business aspect. So I think Maryland did a really good job with the balance of not being too restrictive, but making sure to contain the number of licenses that they gave out and making sure they had geographical diversity and that the local municipalities couldn't play too much of a role, meaning hinder opening of these licenses, at least this first round of licenses that really laid the foundation of our program here. Because we have cultivators, processors, and dispensaries. We haven't introduced delivery licenses and on-site consumption yet. And now we're even talking about wholesale licenses. We're talking about event licenses. These are kind of add-ons to a program that needed a foundation laid. So that being said, I do believe that we're going to follow a similar trajectory of any market that's emerging, goes into medical, then adult use, and then has a few years of the glory days where pounds are $4,000, which they're not $4,000 anymore in Maryland. But we're going to see a little bit of a plateau, right? And then we're going to see price compression happening. We even saw it in the medical market before we went to adult use. Now we kind of reset the program. But now we're going to see price compression happen. And we're going to see increased competition. We just awarded 75 new licenses, 75 new dispensary licenses, and about 10 or 15, don't quote me, I'm wrong a little bit, but a smaller number of cultivation and processing licenses and micro licenses to the market. Granted, I do believe it will take all of 2 years for these licenses to get up and running. I also believe not all of them will get up and running. So I don't believe that the saturation is going to be something that is overwhelming and that businesses cannot deal with, but it will increase competition, which could potentially cause more price compression. So I think that's something to monitor over the next 2 to 3 years. I do not believe it's going to happen quickly. I think that it will happen over time as more businesses are introduced. However, we have less than about 1% of the Maryland population adopting and using cannabis right now and buying cannabis from a legal dispensary. There's still a lot more left. There's still a lot more of a market share to gain. There are still people shopping on the illicit market and on the legacy market that we can gain as customers. There are still people who have never tried cannabis that may be open to trying different types of products, as well as we have whole new spaces that are becoming a part of our industry, like consumption lounges, as well as event licenses that will allow for licensees like myself to actually vend at sporting events or concerts or parties, things that people may try a cannabis beverage. So I think that the market still has so much to grow. And, that's why I kind of don't believe that the price compression is even going to happen in Maryland as fast as it has happened in other states. mainly I believe is because they figured out the right balance of capping the licenses, however, having the right amount for an area. So I think that we're unique in that. We're going to do a slower burn towards the same trajectory that a market typically matures. But now getting into products, I think that this is where it's going to get super, super exciting, right? And I've even seen that over my 7 years operating in Maryland right now. In the medical market, you started out essentially a lot of MSOs have one in Maryland, and there are mom and pop shops, but mostly MSOs, especially back in the 2015 round, the people that ended up winning the grow and processing licenses. So we're seeing a lot of the MSO products, not a lot of the legacy brands and or West Coast brands, really cool, funky brands. And as you know, most of the East Coast states have very, very strict regulations around packaging and how it can look and feel. So a lot of the products weren't as focused on branding and marketing. It was more like, I get the product out, you're going to buy it because it's the only one on the market. Now we're starting to see, okay, you got to kind of compete a little bit. And now that we're in adult use, you have customers that are looking for products that they know and recognize that they might have bought in Colorado or California or Florida or New York. And they don't understand the difference between the legacy market and ours. So they don't care about that. They just want their products. And I'm starting to see a lot of brands that I recognize from other states come to Maryland. So people are doing white label deals and partnerships, as well as brands coming out with 3 and 4, or vendors, licensees coming out with 3 and 4 different brands that hit different demographics. So I think that you're going to see a lot more of that. Additionally, I think a lot of the newer folks that are coming in are going to partner with West Coast brands to get into our market because it's hot, and we can definitely use different SKUs. And I think what you're going to start to see are stores that are getting more selective with their products. Whereas right now, everybody's selling everything, and it's a lot of price wars and all of that. And I think that as we introduce more brands and you introduce more cultivators and processors, you're going to see people being more competitive about where they're spending their dollars. You're going to see top dispensaries kind of being able to control the market more, like a California. Because right now in Maryland, the growers and processors control the market, not the dispensaries. You're at their mercy. But I believe that as Maryland matures, you'll start to see top dispensaries be able to kind of control the market a little bit more and control the brands that are successful. So I think that happens in a mature market as well. The dispensaries gain more power.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving that amazing overview of the market. Just to add one question onto that, do you think in the future that customers are going to be looking for more low dose products also? Just because I see so many people, even in like mature adult use markets, still shopping for THC and price. But I just feel like there's just been this wave of people kind of looking for more low dose products, even in the regulated market, not just the hemp derived market. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not seeing that in the numbers. I'll say that. If I'm just looking at data and numbers, which is something that is new for me, not listening to customer feedback. I'm not saying that that's not important. I'll get there. But if I'm just looking at data, I'm not seeing that shift yet. However, when you put your ear to the ground and you actually kind of get out there and talk to folks, yes. As well as I'm talking to folks that are not yet customers, and that's something that they're interested in. They're afraid of the idea of being too high, or you've heard about people having edible trips and they don't want to experience that. So being able to say, I have a microdosed cannabis product that is only 2.5 milligrams is going to be easier to digest than you have to take 10 milligrams or cut it up and feeling like, oh, if I cut it in half, am I really only getting 5? Questioning it, which adds to the paranoia of the whole experience, and it's not fun at that point. So I definitely think that there is a market for it. I think in mature markets, you're seeing it a little bit more than in emerging markets. And I think that's just because in emerging markets, you're getting more of the connoisseur coming at first. And then as it becomes more normalized in that area, people are like, oh, I guess I can try that dispensary. My school teacher went there, so I guess it's not that bad. It's a slower adoption rate.
Right.
for newer folks that might be interested in it. So I definitely think as the industry expands and like Maryland introducing event licenses and consumption licenses, these are where I believe it truly will be the first level experience, you know? And I believe that we'll be able to do things like pseudo testing through event licenses and through collaborations with on-site consumption lounges to be able to test products with customers, because we can't do that currently. So I think that, you know, low dose is going to be a sector of our industry. Will it end up becoming as big as high dose THC flower? Never. It's never going to outpace it. It's going to be big though, but I think it's a longer term play. So don't expect to come in and dominate a market with your 2.5 milligram tablets. It's not immediately. You can do well, but you're not going to be the number one seller on shelves day one.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just an amazing overview of the broader Maryland cannabis market and just trends that we're seeing nationally. So thank you so much for providing that. But I kind of want to get a little bit more granular and talk more about Marion, Maine. Okay. So, you know, if you were to describe the Marion, Maine dispensary and the dispensary experience that you've created, how would you do that?
I'll start by saying Marion, Maine is your home for cannabis. That's our tagline right now, but it truly is a family environment. And that's how you feel when you walk in the door. The first thing you're going to hear when you walk in the door is welcome home. And we are, we're all just so excited to even have the opportunity to share cannabis with our community. So everyone's excited to answer questions. Everyone is happy to allow you to take your time understanding the process. Because look, we know that our shopping experience is not the same as going to Target or going somewhere else, even going to the liquor store. If you want to compare, regulated products with each other.
Right.
So, even going to the liquor store, you're used to showing your ID. Are you used to having to do it twice? Are you used to having it scanned through something and potentially your information stored and you having to say, oh, I want to shop anonymously. Okay. And you having to wait in lines, and in Maryland, you can't touch the product before you buy it. So if I'm showing you something and you might just be used to, oh, let me see, taking it out of my hand and I just snatch it back. Are you going to feel like, oh no, did I do something wrong? All of these things we've had to, figure out how to make the customer feel comfortable, knowing that the shopping experience may not be what they're typically used to. However, making it as comfortable as possible. And I believe we figured that out. I get that feedback all the time, that I go to a lot of dispensaries, and this one just makes me feel the most comfortable. And we're really proud of that. And we're proud of the family that we've built. Some of my people have been with me since day one, literally.
Amazing.
I've had wonderful retention. So therefore, we've been able to build really great connections with our customers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's amazing to hear. And Marion, Maine is part of your larger Wiseco company. So can you kind of talk about that and more of what you're doing in the long-term play that you see?
Totally. So, a lot of people, when they are starting their business, you might have a holding company and all of that. You don't brand it. We decided to brand our holding company Wiseco's because we were doing so much outside of just our operating dispensary. So Wiseco owns and operates Marion, Maine, and Marion, Maine is our retail brand that Wiseco also owns. Wiseco is also the proud owner and recipient and will operate a manufacturing license in New Jersey. We have been building up that facility for a little while now, and we will be operational probably by the end of this year. So we're super excited about that, where we'll be starting with white labeling and eventually manufacturing our own products in New Jersey. And also we are doing a partnership in Maryland with a manufacturing license and a cultivation license. So we will be vertically integrated, and we will be bringing our own products to our own store here in Maryland. So we're super excited about that. Within Wiseco, we also invest in other cannabis companies, But these are our projects that we're working on and focusing on right now, and that we're going to actually operate ourselves. So we're super excited about kind of moving to the next stage of our business and really utilizing and fully going as wide as possible in Maryland.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on all the growth that has been stemmed from this amazing dispensary that you all have created together. Just can't wait to see where you go next. One thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit too is how you grow. We were talking a little bit about like systems and things like that you really need in order to scale and to grow sustainably. So how does that process really work in Mary & Maid and within Wise Code to help you kind of make these big moves?
Definitely. One thing I like to tell people is in the beginning, just focus on getting things done, right? You don't need to figure out how to do it perfectly in the beginning because you can do that over time. You just have to start, learn, and then continuously improve. And that's what we've done. Most of the original people that started with me, we've kind of worked every piece of the business at Mary & Maid. Therefore, it's very easy for us to troubleshoot when something is wrong. And it's actually easier for us to develop policies and procedures that can actually work because it's not somebody that's never done the task before trying to tell you how to do it. Mm-hmm. We waited until we felt comfortable with, I guess you can call it an MVP of a playbook of how to run a store before we were even pursuing opportunities to do more. So, and I'll give you another example on how we've been very strategic on our growth. A lot of people have asked me, Hope, with your notoriety in the space and also with you having a dispensary, why don't you have your own branded product? For me, I had to kind of evaluate the time and effort and money it takes to start up a brand without owning the manufacturing of that brand and the distribution of that brand. Typically, you're not getting any more than 10% of profits. Also, historically in the cannabis industry and really in any industry, the brand is likely the last person getting paid. You're not getting paid by the person buying the product. You're getting paid by the person manufacturing the product, unless you structure the deal different. Most of the times, unless you're the licensee, you're not getting the money first. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily make sense to put forth the time, money, and effort it takes to build a brand for someone like me that is making money another way. So essentially what I'm saying is we're very strategic about our growth. We actually have a process for, okay, when a new opportunity comes, we look at the opportunity cost of not focusing on what we have going on versus what it takes to get that up and running and kind of that operational cost that's there. We evaluate if it makes sense over time to put money into that. And I think what has happened in result is, we, in other people's eyes and what they can see, we might not be growing as fast as you think because we're not jumping on to every new state that's coming on and applying for the max amount of licenses, or I'm not doing the things that people think I should be doing, like launching brands and doing all these things. What I'm doing is slowly building up my business as well as our bank account and our credit score and all of these things so that I can go out and now be able to fund a cultivation and a processing license to be able to really build a true foundation to create whatever products I want in Maryland. And it was, like I said, a very slow burn, but very intentional, very strategic. And I definitely attribute that to my team, us all being on the same page about where we wanted to go, not being distracted by shiny things, and having a process to decide on whether or not we should move forward or not. So a lot of this is data driven, taking our feelings out of it, which is hard.
Yeah.
Definitely hard for me as an empathetic woman. I definitely have a lot of masculine traits, but I can't forget I'm a woman and it comes out all the time. So I definitely have had to surround myself with people who are very strategic and logical thinkers because I can be a little emotional. I'm very passionate about what I do.
You're an entrepreneur.
And know what I mean? I love what I do. I love the people that I do it for and with. So it's been nice. It's been nice to have those logical people around me that are like, look, let me remind you, and I'm going to show you in a pro forma where we can go if we stay focused. Don't worry about the outside noise. So that's my advice to folks that are kind of trying to figure out, like, how do I scale? What do I do? Think about what you really want, your true North Star, not what everybody, what you think it should be based off of society or what the MSOs are doing or whatever the case is. Think about your true North Star and like making sure that you're actually aligned with that. Not doing things before you're ready.
That's good. That's really, really good. It's reminding me of a post that I saw you do not too long ago where you were kind of talking about this idea where you're like, I don't pick the fanciest things. I don't do this. But I protect my margins. And like, I'm in my books all the time. And that's just so, so important, especially in this industry where we were just talking about price compression, commoditization, a race to the bottom mentality. That's been the case in so many other markets. So just kudos to you on finding that North Star and finding people that can help you achieve it.
Yes.
So
thank you.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the social media presence in the community that you've been able to build, because that'll lead me into your next project that I'm excited to talk about with you also. But really, and that's how I kind of stay up to date with you, is like I follow your Instagram. I see that you're going to Africa and you're running your business and you're just doing all the things. But really, you've also created a community on this platform, and you answer a lot of people's questions about the business of cannabis. And just tell me what it's been like to like build that platform and build that community.
This has been probably the most fun part about what I do, is curating this community. And the fun part about it too was like, it wasn't on purpose. Again, it was me just kind of sharing my life on Instagram. And then I'm seeing like, wow, people are telling me they're inspired by me, or they have all these questions and I'm actually helping folks. People are coming back a year later and telling me like, hey, your advice, I did X, Y, and Z, and now I'm here. And that's really exciting. One of my good friends, Tahir Johnson, he just opened up his dispensary. And he oftentimes tells the story about like reading an article about me, and that's why he decided to pursue this industry. So I know for those like, yeah, every time I'm like, goodness, every time I don't feel like showing up, or I'm kind of like, oh, do I really have to make this video or something like that? I remember how much the representation that I've been able to give this industry has helped folks. Not to mention, I truly have learned so much. And I have so much knowledge that it would be a disservice for me to not give back. I don't believe that God allowed for me to have this type of success to just not share it with others. So I feel like it's my duty, and I have a great time doing it. I try and let people see my real life, who I really am, so that they know that they can be their full self and still be successful in this space or in any space. And, I don't sugarcoat that this is a difficult space to be in, and that it is a very sophisticated space. It is not a joke, and a lot of people think that this industry is just a joke and all of that. And I'm like, look, you might see us at a conference and then, we might be smoking a joint outside of the conference or something like that. But honestly, these folks are extremely, just like you drink a drink at your conference. Shoot, we're doing that too. But it's not a joke. It's not funny. These people are sophisticated. These are probably some of the most sophisticated contracts that I've ever heard of folks coming up with between each other, because we're complying with a lot of regulations. It's a lot of red tape around every single thing that we do. The simplest agreement that you might think two companies will have lots of whole hoops they have to jump through and people that they have to get it approved by. So it's a constant battle every day to stay compliant and making sure that you're still alive in this space. A lot of people are not here anymore. So, and a lot of companies are not making the money that they thought they would at this point. So it's very difficult to stay in this space. I mean, I'm just super happy that I get to share my experience so that other people don't have to make same mistakes that I made.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I think we're all just still grateful to be here. And we've seen a lot happen in the years we've been in this space. A lot of people
Yeah.
come and go, a lot of hardship and a lot of bad partnerships and agreements. And so it's just really great that you really look at all of those with a fine tooth comb and really find people who truly align with you, your mission, your values, and that it makes sense on paper. So, with this community and with all the teaching that you've been doing, you're about to launch a very exciting new program. We're recording this on January 17th, but in just a couple of days, you're launching Legal and Licensed. So
Yeah.
just tell us what this is. We want to hear all the details.
Thank you. I'm so excited about Legal and License because it has been years in the making. People all the time, they're asking me, hey, Hope, how do I get in the space? I don't know where to start. What do I do? And honestly, the information that's online is getting better because the industry is becoming more mature, but we're still very, very early in the space. There are not that many people in the space. And the few of us that are in it, most of us are just trying to keep our head above water and figure out what's going on with the regulations. They're forever changing. So Legal and Licensed is a community that I'm bringing together of aspiring cannabineurs, of current licensees, from people who just got their license and they're on the journey to becoming operational, to people who just became operational, like Tahir. And they're like, look, I still have questions, but I've kind of been through what you're about to go through. And then people like myself, seasoned entrepreneurs that have, we've been through the gamut, but I still have so much more to learn from everybody else. I've learned that you can't do this alone. And on top of that, as a minority entrepreneur, I didn't go through a social equity program or any type of minority focused program. So I had no technical assistance, no financial help. In fact, back in 2015, 2016, when I won my license, they weren't even really talking about that yet. I was a part of a lot of the early conversations as we were bringing the concept of social equity to the East Coast, especially, and shout out to Supernova Women, an awesome nonprofit that I was once on the board. I'm a previous board member, but they've done a lot of the work on the West Coast getting social equity implemented. So a lot of their work has translated to the programs on the East Coast, including in Maryland. So that being said, I didn't have any type of technical assistance, no help. There was no blueprint. There was nobody who looked like me that could help me. So what I want to do now is, there are a lot more of us. I've met so many people along my journey from different subject matter expertise that I want to bring and give as a resource to other people. So Legal and Licensed, like I said, is a community where we will share ideas, share resources. I will be dropping mini courses and other resources in there for our members, as well as have a monthly Q&A call where I will bring on different subject matter experts, as well as have myself on calls to answer questions. There'll be a video library of all of that. We will have some special in-person events for members, as well as, I'm going to keep you up to date to everything happening in the cannabis industry. So this is the perfect place for any aspiring entrepreneur in the space, whether you are already pursuing a license or you're just interested. Even if you're interested in being an investor in a cannabis company, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into. So I'd say that this group is good for anybody that is any one of those people, an investor, a current entrepreneur in the space, or an aspiring entrepreneur in the space. There will be something for you.
So exciting, Hope. And I love that there's not just a virtual, but an in-person component to it also. That's really special because, as we know, in-person events are just monumental to help build connections in the space and learn a lot. And yeah, kudos to you for starting this for our industry. That's really amazing. How can people sign up? We need the details.
Yes, so I made it super, super easy for you. You can visit us at legalandlicensed.com. You can sign up there. It's super, super easy, free to sign up, but there is a paid membership version, and that's where you'll get access to the Q&A calls and all the other fun resources. But there is a free version, and I encourage everybody to sign up, join the forum, join the conversation.
Amazing, amazing. We'll look forward to that when it launches just in a few days. Um, so I kind of want to wrap today by asking you what some of your predictions are for the cannabis industry in 2025. I know predictions can be a fool's errand sometimes, but I love to hear how people think it's going to unfold in the next year.
Definitely. Okay, so I don't think that we're going to see massive movement in cannabis this year. I'll just be honest. But I do think there are some key trends that we should watch. For example, I think that New York is going to see a major boost as this market matures. Also, the state has really focused on cleaning up the gray market there and empowering the current card licensees. So I do believe that we're going to see New York having more headlines, more success stories. And I think it's just going to be a focus nationally. And it will move, definitely it will move some stock prices for sure. All that being said, I think that meaningful change is genuinely going to take time. Like at the federal level specifically, if we were talking about any legalization efforts, I don't think that's going to happen in 2025 at all. We're still focused on rescheduling and we're getting pushback there. Even the Trump administration, it's unclear. Trump himself has traditionally, I won't say traditionally, has recently supported cannabis and supported legalization in Florida. So we're assuming he is supportive. It's not very clear because a lot of his appointments, not so supportive historically. So we're not sure really what his administration is going to do. And I think he's going to be very lukewarm, kind of not good or bad. And I don't think it's going to be a focus next year. If anything, we will see rescheduling or at least more effort towards it. We thought it was going to happen quickly, and that effort has been halted. But, I think that for Marion, Maine, 2025 is all about laying a foundation for us, for Marion, Maine and Wiseco. It's all about laying our foundation. We're really focused on maximizing our opportunities in Maryland and becoming more financially sound and having a really, really strong bottom line so that we can truly become the sustainable business that I believe, I'm not sure what the future holds. I'll say I'll take a golden parachute if it comes. But if we're doing well enough, I won't even need one. I'll have my own plane by then, right? I won't need a golden parachute. So, that's what I'm working on for Marion, Maine, just continuing to optimize our operations. I don't care that we're doing well and that we're in the black. I want to do better and I want more. So that's what 2025 is about for us. I don't think we're going to see a lot of major movement though, but I definitely think that like headline wise, we're going to hear about New York all year.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing those. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate having you on Big Ideas in Cannabis. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.